All right, everybody, welcome to this Zoom meeting. This is the Rogers Hornsby chapter of the Society for American Baseball Research. Very excited to have you on board here today. We have lots of people from all over the place. I want to give an especial warm welcome to Texas State students who have joined us. I want to let our local members know that I invited all School of Journalism and Mass Communication majors to this meeting because we're hoping to have two Texas State grads who have served as social media coordinators with Major League Baseball teams. One has joined us so far. That's Aaron Peralta. I'll be talking more about him in just a moment, introduce him. And then also we're hoping that Remily Herzberg will also be able to join us today. I am Gilbert Martinez. I am the chapter commissioner for the Rogers Hornsby chapter of SABR, Society for American Baseball Research. Some of you may know me as a professor at Texas State University, which I also am. Very excited to have you all here. And I see that Remley is joining us here in just a moment. But very excited to have you here today. I sort of wear different hats. Today, I'm wearing an Astros cap as I wear oftentimes. We have many baseball fans in our group. Just to give you a little bit about a background, what today is a sort of a special day for SABR, the Society for American Baseball Research. This is a day designated as SABR Day when we celebrate baseball. We celebrate the organization. SABR is a national, actually an international organization based in the United States, made up of people that just love baseball, love many different things about baseball, love playing baseball, love watching baseball, love talking about baseball. Some do deep statistical analyses of baseball. Some like to do bios of baseball players or human interest stories about baseball. Some of us are just big fans. We just love the game. And we have others, right? Texas State students might be here because they want to hear about the experiences that some of our own graduates are having with Major League Baseball. And that's really what this is about. That's what we're doing today. We're celebrating baseball. We're celebrating Sabre Day. So I'm really glad you could join me here today. I want to give a shout out to my colleague Amber Hensley, who's also here. Dr. Hensley and her daughter, I think, may be interested in hearing a little bit about what we're about and what's going on today. So very excited to have everybody join us here today. Um, so um, this is let me do this. If you're really interested in baseball, I mean like really interested in baseball, I would encourage you to consider the Sabre organization as a organization to join. This is a nonprofit organization. There are also student rates as well. The annual fees are quite affordable for students, and I've dropped that in the chat if you just wanted to look to see the national organization, and then you can connect with the local chapter. So we're the local chapter for Austin and Central Texas, but we also cover South Texas. We're a very active chapter. Just to give you an idea, today is the 219th consecutive month in which the chapter has met. We're a big deal, or we think we're a big deal. We're a fun group. We're active. We talk baseball. It's a fun community. This is a streak that goes back to December of 2006. So that's a long time, but it's something that we have a lot of fun with. And my cat Pepper has just joined, so she gets to do what she wants. So we'll let her. We'll see what she decides to do. She might go sit in the window here. Okay, so we're a very active chapter. Typically, what we do is we meet for lunch. We talk baseball year round. We also create outings to the Dell Diamond in Round Rock to watch a baseball game. In recent years, we've gone down to San Antonio to watch the San Antonio Missions. We do other things as well. We have an annual World Series watch party. That's a lot of fun. And the only valid excuse for our chapter members is if they're at the World Series, actually. Otherwise, that's the must go to party of the year. But we do that at Jim Baker's house in Cedar Park every October. There are other things that we do as well through the year. The other big thing we do, we just had a month ago, we have our big winter meeting. We've had 19 winter meetings, and we do it on the campus at Texas State University because that is centrally located. Also, I have keys to Old Main, so that's helpful also. And Remley and Aaron might remember taking classes in Old Main. We do it up in 320. It's the first Saturday of October typically, and we invite former baseball players, umpires, executives. We also have research presentations. We do that every January. And so these are the kind of things that you can learn more about if you join our chapter. I just wanted to share that with you here before we get rolling. So we're really excited to have the two Texas State graduates who are joining us. I'm going to introduce both of them here in just a moment. I also want to let you know that we heard from a Texas Tech law student who is from the Austin area, and he's written an article about earning compensation for a former Negro Leagues baseball player through the collective bargaining agreement. He's written a research article and he's looking for input and support. So in the February newsletter, I'll be sharing the draft of his article. And then if anybody's interested in reading it and giving him feedback, helping him with his research, helping him with his writing, he would greatly appreciate that. So he's going to have some time to talk about that once we are through with our guest speakers. And then let's see, I'll also talk about the what's in the works for another get together this month. We're hoping to go to a UT Longhorns baseball game later this month, and so I'll have more information about that later on. And then very exciting, I'll just give a quick shout out here. Aaron Peralta has been a social media coordinator for the Seattle Mariners and the Cincinnati Reds. He's currently the social media coordinator for the Houston Dynamo, and he also used to be the bullpen catcher for the Texas State Bobcats. And so we have a quiz today by Tom Thayer, who won the quiz at the winter meeting, and it's a quiz about catchers. Aaron might be interested to know, and others might be interested. He presented some research about catchers and a new way to evaluate them. So he's put together a quiz about that. So you guys can look forward to that. So again, welcome to everybody, to our members, people far and wide with Sabre, but welcome also to Texas State students. It's a real treat to see you. I recognize some of the names. Some of you may be former students of mine, current students of mine, maybe even future current students of mine. But I welcome you especially. Thanks for joining us here today. All right, so very excited to introduce the two guest speakers that we have. Sort of the theme is social media. When I heard from my colleague Dell Blassingame that we had a couple of students who've been doing social media coordination for Major League Baseball teams, I was very excited to hear that, and I reached out to them to find out if I could line them up for today's meeting. Typically, we do a Sabre Day meeting on Zoom, so this just opens up the opportunity for people to join us. So I want to welcome Remley Herzberg. She's a native Texan. She spent some time in Chicago before she got her degree at Texas State University. She is the social media coordinator for the Texas Rangers, and they've had quite an interesting couple of years while she's been there. She joined the team in June of 2023, which was great timing on her part. So in her 1.5 years of covering the Rangers as the social media coordinator, she was there for the 2023 World Series championship. She was also covered Adrian Beltre's Hall of Fame induction and the 2024 All-Star Week hosted at Globe Life Field on all social media platforms. Very, very fortunate to have such great things to add to your resume and experiences, Remley. She also grew up playing baseball and softball. She photographed and covered college baseball while getting a degree, and now her passion is for content creation for this and for the sport that has led her to the Texas Rangers. So this 2025 season will mark her second full season with the team. And of course, we know teams are. I mean, the calendar has turned. It's February, folks. So we know spring training is about to come up. I'm sure she's busy. So we're going to be chatting with her. And then also, as I mentioned, Aaron Peralta is with us here today. He is the social media manager for the Houston Dynamo, the professional soccer team in Houston. He graduated with a degree in mass communication at Tech State University. He's been around baseball, he says, ever since he was 3 years old. He's played all the way through to high school. And then at Texas State, he was the bullpen catcher. Very excited. I imagine we're going to have some questions about that, Aaron. And after graduation, he got a social media job with the Seattle Mariners and then with the Cincinnati Reds in 2024. And as I mentioned, now he's with the Houston Dynamo. So with that getting us started, I really what I want to do is kind of guide a conversation here. to let you talk about what the experience is like. And, as fanatic baseball fans, we're always interested in the stories that you can share, the behind the scenes kind of stuff, that you're comfortable sharing. And then there'll be an opportunity for people to ask questions. And I especially want to give the Texas State students a chance to ask questions about your career path, maybe the things that were helpful to you while in college, maybe what advice you might have for them. But let's start with Remley if we could. And Remley, I hope I'm pronouncing your first name correctly. But if you could please just share with us how you got to where you got, the kind of things you did, and then we can talk about your experience, especially with the Texas Rangers. Please.
Awesome. Yeah, pronunciation is perfect. It's a tricky first name. So your question is just kind of how I got to where I got. I have always loved being around baseball and softball growing up. I played both. And then my brothers continued playing on when I eventually transitioned into just playing golf. But so I grew up with a good understanding of the sport. We lived in Houston for a bit, so we went to a lot of Houston Astros games. Um, and then as we moved to Chicago, that shifted into some Cubs games. So the passion for the sport was always there. And then while I was in high school, I learned about content creation, took a couple of kind of like news type classes and like video production classes and learned about photography all in the same time. So while I was in high school doing all of that, I was also photographing football games or just recording football games and kind of learning the bare bones of how do you edit something. And after a while and getting feedback, I learned that like, hey, this is a great way to tell stories and be a part of some really cool things. So when I got to college, the degree that I specifically was looking for was something in content creation. And thankfully, Texas State also had a sports media concentration at the time. So I was able to take some classes that were more geared towards whether it was reporting on sports, which isn't what I do now, but it does come helpful for writing things in kind of an AP style when you need to.
Hmm.
So while I was taking those classes, I was also working for Texas State Athletics,
Hmm.
doing content creation there with the background in photography and videography. I was able to create very similar content there that I was able to transition into an online portfolio and submit to an open job listing at the Texas Rangers and ended up getting the job. So that's where I stand today.
That's terrific. Hearing AP style and sports as news and content creation makes me very excited, and I'm sure this is familiar to our students, and it gives them an idea, right? You're a bobcat that they can see as a mentor, can see as a role model, really. I really appreciate you sharing that. And so we're going to bounce back and forth. Thank you so much, Remley, and welcome. And
Thank you.
Aaron, your path is similar in some ways and probably different in others. So please share with us how you got where you are and a little bit about your background, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I've been playing baseball. I've been a part of baseball all my life since I was three up until my last year in high school. I was playing. I had plans to play collegiately, but I had a very ugly knee injury, so that derailed me. Figured, that was my time with the sport being done. It was just like one of those things where it's like it's a kids game type thing. And though that hasn't changed, my love for the game just kind of grew from that because being away from it in college just really made me want to come back even more. And so, my path to where I currently am is pretty untraditional, I'd say. It's been a very, it's been a roller coaster for one. I was in my time at Texas State, I started actually as a history major. I was there for 4 years about to graduate and decided that this actually isn't what I wanted to do. I don't get me wrong, I love history. I still would love to go into teaching eventually, but I just felt like I had more that I wanted to do and that I wanted to work in sports because that was always a dream, but I just never knew how to get there. And I switched my major, switched it a couple times, right before graduation, much to the dismay of my parents and those around me. It was quite a shock for everyone, but um, it worked out because, even though I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do, COVID had hit and, well, actually, sorry, it was that first really big snowstorm. So, kind of gave me some time to stay away from school and just sit down and think what I wanted to do. And I met someone over, of all places, Reddit, who went to school there and worked for ESPN Plus, and he actually got me a job at ESPN Plus. So my beginning in sports actually started with the sports broadcasting in college. So I did that for a few years while I worked my major for mass comm. Started anew because obviously not much from, lo and behold, not much from a history major really translate over to mass communications. But it was great though. It was exactly what I needed because there I got to learn and the rigorous routine of sports and stuff. And my favorite games to broadcast were baseball by far. Eventually I made my way into the control room and would produce and direct games, and it was my absolute favorite. Like there's nothing else like producing a baseball game. And from there I went, after graduation I went on to work with ESPN Longhorn Network as a production assistant, but that's where I really started to get a taste for social media and content creation. I'd help our LHN team, just come up with stuff for all sports. But again, as always, my favorite was baseball and softball by far. It's just I never get tired of it. And once my time there kind of started coming to a close, I started scrambling looking for what I wanted to do. And although I loved broadcasting, I knew I wanted to be there in it. It's one thing to do broadcasting because you're kind of on the outside looking in. I wanted to be on the inside, in the heart of the sport. And so I was fortunate enough to find a opening for the Seattle Mariners. Mind you, I had no professional work, as a social media coordinator or social media anything besides, my own personal account. But, I worked on trying to form my portfolio, and I went through the interview process, and I think my knowledge and love for the game just kind of helped showed. And then eventually, I thought I missed out on the opportunity because I didn't hear from them back after several interviews for like 3, 4 weeks, and it was maybe 4 days before opening day 23, and
Mm.
I get the call, and they offer the position. I was like, absolutely, and 5 days later, I drove up to Seattle,
Wow.
and it was great. And then spent the year there, had City Connect release. We hosted the MLB All-Star Weekend there. We had the Felix Hall of Fame, or
Oh yeah.
Mariners Hall of Fame
Yeah.
induction ceremony.
Uh-huh.
So it was a great year. And then after that I got picked up with Cincinnati for social media coordinator. So it was a step in the right direction, and spent time there in Cincinnati, and it was a great time. Loved the city. And then from there, I wanted to come back home. I was a bit homesick, needed to come back home, and this was a great opportunity here in Houston. So I took it, and I was like, you know what? Now this allows me to be a fan again for fan only, no work. And but that was the thing; it was never work for me, even in it. But yeah. So.
That's terrific. This is so interesting to me, and I know we're going to dive into this, but what's really interesting to me is that both you, Remley and Aaron, have had some sports experience. And
Mhm.
Aaron, you had the chance to be the bullpen catcher for Texas State baseball. Remley, I know you said you played baseball and softball. So we're going to start with Aaron, then we're going to go back to Remley here. But tell me a little bit about how playing the sport has helped you with your job, doing the kind of social media coordination you were asking to do, the content creation. Because I'm sure that provided some insight perhaps into the stories you would do or the content you would create for social media to engage fans. Could you just share a little bit about that first, Aaron, and then we'll get back to Remley?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was great being able to join the team at Texas State as as the catcher, because you get a perspective that obviously as a fan that you wouldn't be able to see. And the culture and the approach to the game is much different than obviously if you're just going through high school, unless you're in one of the top high schools in the country or something. But um it was just a huge difference. But it was great to see because not only did you kind of learn like the absolute grind that it can be. College baseball is we'd wake up 6 in the morning, we'd have to report for workouts and stuff, and I'd have to catch morning bullpens, go to class, come back for lunch, catch afternoon bullpens, go back to class or do whatever I needed to do, and then come back and get whoever else needed to get some rounds in. So,
Yeah.
but it was very rigorous. It was very demanding, but that kind of helped because after all, baseball is a demanding sport.
Mhm.
It takes a lot of discipline, and a good solid head on your shoulders. And I think that really helped when it came to doing this side, of the work. Because I mean, last year I worked 155 games out of 162. So it's like,
Wow.
it's a lot, but I know Remley can attest to that. Like it's an absolute grind. But that's the thing, it's just a part of the sport. And then also being, in that culture, yeah, they're still students, they're still kids. We're all still kids, but at the same time, like there's more professionalism within a college environment, or at least you'd hope there is. And there absolutely was in my time there, where, like they want to win. Everybody wants to win. And of course, I wasn't doing anything content creation wise there. I was just there to support the team where I could. But that's where it was really like important on emphasizing the relationships with players and, gathering the culture of the teams and stuff like that. And I was able to, going into Seattle and then Cincinnati, being able to put those lessons I learned, about
Mhm.
how to better relate to these players and how to, what, do's and don'ts, obvious things that, there's some unwritten things you don't want to capture or, get in the way of, but also just understanding like the dynamic of a team and like how they themselves want to, show themselves to everyone else.
Yeah, Aaron, thank you for that. I mean, for those that don't know, Texas State has a terrific baseball team, a college baseball team that's been knocking on the door of the College World Series even just a few years ago. Also, the program that produced Paul Goldschmidt, MVP and All-Star. So very respected around baseball, college baseball. Texas State baseball team. UT Longhorns aren't the only college baseball team in Texas, and so thank you for sharing that, Aaron. Let's get to Remley. Your experiences are a little bit different, but you also have athletic experience, and I'm wondering how that has helped you in covering a major league team for social media, and how that sort of helps you generate content creation for the team. Please, Remley.
Yeah, Aaron did a great job of putting it probably more eloquently than I'll put it. But I think one thing he hit on a couple of good things that I'd like to reiterate. Discipline. I didn't play sports at a collegiate level, but I did play them growing up. And the discipline that it takes to show up to those practices, to want to get better. All of those things definitely transition over into a team setting like this. And I know Aaron said working 155 games. I didn't work as much as he did. I had more about 140 from last year, but the discipline of showing up every day and kind of dedicating that time to getting prepped before a game. Like one of the silly things to think about is that, like, hey, yeah, the team has to warm up. They gotta stretch and just get ready to play a game for a couple of hours. But what you don't see is usually there's social media people, sometimes even weeks in advance, prepping for some stat that's coming up or
Mm.
prepping for that night's games, trying to figure out what's going on. Like sometimes news drops right before a game starts. And I think that social media team and PR team are all kind of working together, but the discipline that it takes to show up to each game ready to go um, is a really big thing that you learn from sports. And then the other thing that Aaron talked about, and I couldn't have said it better myself, is learning how to be a part of a team. We have some pillars of success in our organization, and one of them that apply, and these pillars apply to both the players and to the front office staff. But one of those pillars is be a good teammate. So it's what can you do to help this well-oiled machine keep moving forward? And that's something that you learn whether you're playing sports as a kid, you're playing sports as an adult, or playing sports on a college team or even a professional team. You have to learn how to get along with the people around you and how to work well with them together in order for everything to run as smoothly as it does. And sometimes that's not easy with tight deadlines or miscommunications or any things of the sorts. But at the end of the day, you just have to remember, be a good teammate. And growing up with athletics experience, I think you can kind of fall back on that, how to be a good teammate.
Mhm. Oh, that's terrific. Really interesting to hear about that, because it is a huge operation. Every team has, so many employees, so many elements, and then you're one part of it, but you're also interacting, with the stats department and the facts about the history and milestones that are coming up for players. I really love that perspective. Let me ask this question, and we're going to start with Remley, and then we'll go to Aaron. We're kind of doing the switching back and forth like this. But Remley, there's so much already on your resume of the things that you've covered. And this might be a tough question, but can you just share with us some details of maybe a favorite thing that you've done so far as social media coordinator for the Rangers. Maybe something where you maybe the first time or maybe the most significant where you stopped and said, "Well, I actually do this for a living? Like they actually pay me to do this?" What was a really special experience you had as the social media coordinator for the Rangers for what you've done so far?
That's an awesome question. And I think I have that thought pretty much every day of like, oh my gosh, like this is a real job and I show up and I get paid to do this. And that's honestly so cool. Um, Trying to sift through it all. Um, I'll say like the World Series was really an awesome experience, but I think that's almost too easy of an answer. But for me, the reason that it was so important was because there's this running joke at the in our marketing department that I've done everything backwards. Because I got to the team, I hadn't even done a spring training yet and hadn't traveled before with the team. And then the time that I'm doing it is for the World Series. And so I did all of those things, like the highest stake moment that you could possibly get to. And I guess one of the coolest thing to think about of like, oh my gosh, this is actually my job is, we're coming down to the final out. Like we were actually
Mm.
sat in left field of Chase Stadium. That's where they had an auxiliary press box going for both the social media teams, and it's the Ranger social media team sitting right next to the Arizona team. But
Wow.
they were the kindest people ever. But
Yeah.
like we're all kind of sitting there, and it's like the anticipation is building. It's just like we're coming down to the final out. And we have all the graphics prepped, like ready to hit post. And I think the moment of hitting post on those graphics to go live, knowing in your head like this is going to be the highest engaged post that this social media account has ever put out was one of the coolest things. I will say I was incredibly sick during the World Series.
Oh.
I think it was like some sort of flu. So I honestly don't remember too much of it, but I do remember like in that moment being like, oh my gosh, like this is my job. Like 6 months ago, I was just graduating college and somehow I'm here, kind of worrying like, have I peaked? Like, is this is this the peak of my career? But as time's continued on with All-Star from this past year and
Yeah.
getting to be a part of the Hall of Fame induction coverage team, those have also been great things as well. But I mean, every day I'm pulling up to the ballpark and you just kind of see the sheer size of it. You just think like, oh my gosh, this is where I work and this is my job, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Remley, thank you so much for sharing that. I hope you got better after and forget that you had the flu then. That was a very magical time.
It
And
was a lot
part
of
of me,
fun.
yeah, so that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. A part of me while I grab my popcorn because I want to see how Aaron's going to try to top this. My goodness, what an incredible experience Remley shared with us. Aaron, please share with us what's been the highlight so far for you. I mean, I know you're doing professional soccer now, but for the times that you were with baseball, with the Mariners and with the Reds. Is there a moment that sticks out? Is there something where you feel like I'm exactly where I need to be, where I want to be, and it's really special for you? Is there something, a signature moment maybe for you?
It's like Ren was obviously I can't top that. There's no topping that. That's the top of the mountain right there. It's actually funny. I remember that year, that same year, I had connected with Remley on LinkedIn, and we were just kind of talking, and I was just like, y'all look really good this year, and it was funny because we were the Astros, Rangers, and the Mariners were in a super tight race until
Yes.
game 161, where it
Yes.
was a half a game difference. And
Yes.
it was heartbreaking, but for
Yeah.
me it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was, it was crazy. But yeah, it's really tough. There's really a lot to choose from. I mean, my favorite time in Cincinnati, which is unfortunate to say because as frustrating
Oh.
it was absolutely mind blowing to get to watch Blake Snell's no hitter
Oh,
um,
yeah. Yeah.
live.
Wow.
Work wise, it was terrible. Like
Yeah.
we couldn't get a single thing out. We tried doing one thing and we got torched. And I mean, that's just social media. It was a very frustrating game. Blake Snell, the story going in was like, oh, Blake Snell never goes deep into games, this season. He hasn't gone deep in his last nine starts. Well, lo and behold, he goes, he goes 9 innings straight, gets 27 outs. So that was amazing. It was frustrating, but that's just one of those things like work aside, affiliations aside, that's just one of those things as a baseball fan and as a lover of the game that it's just hard not to appreciate.
Yeah.
I felt really emotional watching, and I have no ties to Blake Snell. I have no ties to
Yeah.
since to the Giants or anything like
Yeah.
that or Cincinnati. Like obviously,
Yeah.
I love where I work and everything, and there's that
Right.
support, but. It was just a different feeling, but that was amazing. And then in Seattle, getting to do the MLB All-Star Week was so much fun because I got to meet a lot of great people. I got to meet Griffey. I got to meet Ken
Oh,
Griffey. I got to Junior. I got to
yeah.
meet Ichiro and a lot of
Oh,
other current
mm,
stars. So it was an amazing experience, and that it was just so much fun and being there for watching on TV, it's one thing, like home run derby, that type of stuff. Sometimes it could feel a little, like, yeah, um, it, it not the truest part of the game, but being in that environment actually was an incredible moment. Like being there for the home run derby, I was on the field, I was in the outfield actually in the bullpens, getting video of fans and um, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. actually almost took my head off because I was, turned around recording, trying to pay attention as much as I can. And I hear heads up and I turn and the ball is like screaming past me a foot
okay.
away.
Okay.
And I just I put my phone down, I sat against the wall, I just had to breathe it because I was like, I almost just got taken out on national television. I almost ended up on social media, but that was it. But as cool as that and as scary as that moment was, just being there like when J-Rod came up to the plate and it was just cranked out an amazing first round. It was just I think he put up like 41 in his
Mm,
first round. It was just a beautiful experience like hearing a packed stadium full of fans, that are just as excited for the game, just screaming his name, especially Seattle fans, because that was
yeah.
absolutely the coolest moment, getting to see, the Seattle faithful there in stadium. Like even with a, disappointing season at that point, it was just that life and energy in the stadium screaming their young star's name. It was an incredible moment. That was just kind of one of those things where like I'm really sitting here on the field,
Mm.
in the outfield, watching all the biggest stars in the game just go yard, and I get to be here for this and be a part of this. So it was an awesome moment.
Yeah. Aaron, thank you so much. I'm so glad the ball didn't hit you. That would have been terrible. But I'm just noticing the common threads here, between both of you. Going to the Hall of Fame induction, meeting current Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers. Aaron, I have to tell you, I'm a big Ichiro Suzuki fan, and my wife and I are planning on being in Cooperstown in July to see Ichiro's induction. And as a big Astros fan, I'm really grateful that Billy Wagner is entering the Hall as well. But let me just mention when I asked, sort of like for a favorite moment, I was holding my breath, because you mentioned that October, the late season of 23. I remember that sort of dogfight, the Astros, the Mariners, the Rangers, and coming down to the last day and everything. I was so worried Remley was going to mention the ALCS, Astros, Rangers, and I didn't want to cut the interview short, but I was so worried. So I was very happy she mentioned the World Series. But anyway, I love what you guys are sharing here, and I have one more question. I really want to open it up and really give a chance for the Texas State students to ask questions as well. But we're going to start with Aaron and we'll go to Ramley. But Aaron, what advice would you give with the Texas State students in mind? It's sort of like managerial jobs. If you want to manage at the major league level, there are only 30 of those jobs. It's not like there are a lot of them. And now, of course, there's minor leagues, there's other professional teams. But if your goal is to be a social media coordinator for a major league team, there are only 30 teams to do that. And I'm wondering what advice would you give to students who are in classes now? They're looking at graduating in the next year or so, maybe even as soon as May, maybe a little bit later. And if they want to do what you guys have done and are doing, social media accounts, working with a major league team, what's the best advice you could give them? Imagine like you're talking to yourself, like a past version of yourself when you were in college. This is a future version of yourself, right? Where you're kind of giving advice. What are a couple pieces of advice, Aaron, that you could give? And we'll ask Remley the same thing. Aaron, please.
Yeah, I think about that all the time because this question comes up often. I have, prospective students reaching out to me on LinkedIn all the time, and it's something I think about constantly because it's something I still need to remind myself. I'm very fortunate where I'm at now, but I would say absolutely first and foremost, as cliche as it is, just keep fighting. It, like you said, there's 30 teams. Not all of those teams are going to have a full social team. There's very many that only have a manager. There's several that only have a manager. There's some that have a manager and maybe a coordinator or an intern. And sometimes you just really have to keep grinding it out and just keep putting your name out there and keep working to get better. And that kind of feels like that would be an obvious answer, but that's really all, like that's really the best thing you can do and the only thing you can do, because at the end of the day you could probably be the best there is out there, but sometimes maybe your application just doesn't get seen. You just got to do your absolute best to keep fighting to get to that spot to be seen. I know myself going into Seattle, I wasn't the best one out there. I know I had least experience, but I made damn sure, excuse my language, but I made sure that they were gonna, know my name. I reached out on LinkedIn, and not, begging for an application, just, talking to the people that I knew were gonna be the ones who would be talking to me in this position. And I made sure that I got out there and I put myself out there and let them know that nothing about this is something that I'm second guessing. That because the other thing is with sports, you're gonna have to jump outside of your comfort zone. You I moved to Seattle within 5 days of getting the phone call that I got the job. And that was a nightmare. I was terrified. I've never gone as far as Austin in terms of home living, but
Oh,
here I was moving across. But, is if you really want to get to these places, if you really want to, as they say, if you really want to chase your dreams and stuff like that, you have to step outside your comfort zone. You have to really make yourself feel uncomfortable to get to the point where you can be comfortable. And once you do, adjust and get back to where you can, because the more you're uncomfortable, the more you can grow, the more you can succeed. And I mean that's just the biggest thing, especially with sports. It's be ready to step outside your zone, keep fighting till you do get that spot, the opportunity, and don't get discouraged, because there are thousands of other people out there, fighting for that same spot. And some may get it for various number of reasons. It doesn't mean that you weren't deserving or qualified. It just means something lined up for them, or something like that. So just don't get discouraged. Number one, keep fighting and just step outside your comfort zone, because in sports, no matter what, you will be uncomfortable at some point. Whether you're with the team for several years or working with people that like something is going to happen and come up that you're just not going to feel great about, and you're just going to have to learn how to adjust. And this is just a part of that process.
Aaron, thank you very much for that valuable insight and advice. Really appreciate that. Let's hear from Remily on this question, please.
So I love this question and wrote down a couple of notes. So if I'm looking off to the side, I
Sure.
had a couple of things that come to mind. Like Aaron, I also have a lot of current students of Texas State reaching out. And one of my big points is I encourage Texas State students to reach out within their network. Like I get a bunch of people sending requests in, but if I don't know someone or I don't really see that there's mutual connections, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it sits there and I feel kind of terrible about that. But if I do see someone send something in, or even with a message that says they're from Texas State, for me, that's just an automatic acceptance, just because the school I really think gave me so much opportunity in order to grow and in order to create a portfolio, to where I could get the job as early as I did. So please utilize your Texas State network. There's a bunch of people working in sports across like collegiate, minor leagues. I know former Texas State students working at Round Rock Express in their social media. So please network within your Texas State network, because we're just as excited to hear from you as y'all are excited to hear about what we do. Another great thing, your portfolio. Make a portfolio, put whatever you can on it, whatever you think is relevant experience. And one of the things I will say to encourage people is try and create content for the industry that you're looking to go in for, whether it's like photographing Little League baseball team tournaments, or writing articles for KTSW or the University Star. Anything that you can put onto a portfolio that shows, hey, this is more than just like my own personal account and my personal experience. Teams will see that and they'll be like, you know what, that's great. Like skills can be learned, but they want to see that there's at least a baseline to work with. Um, And kind of like Aaron said, it is a grind and it is very difficult to get into positions when there's, like y'all said earlier, only 30 coordinators in the league. And some teams don't even have coordinators. And to put it into perspective, I sent out 77 applications and I heard back
Mm.
from 3 teams. And it didn't
Wow.
mean that I was necessarily bad at what I did. It just means like the influx of applications that are being sent out to teams is just at such a high volume that sometimes they're just not spending that much time on each application. I feel very blessed and very fortunate for working for the team that I do now. And I'm really grateful that I was one of the people that they decided to invite for interviews. And then one of the things I think that helped with that process is like I always go in with the mindset of leave things better than how I found them. And I even had that mindset when I was at Texas State. And one of the things that I was told later on that actually helped me get my job was actually the fact that I had created a student organization on campus that was designed to kind of create a network for people to be able to interact with each other. And I was told like months after I was hired by the VP that like that was the reason that he was like, this is who we want to send the offer to is because of not only like my sport experience, but also getting out and involved in the community and showing kind of what I was saying earlier, being a team player. So that's something that I definitely encourage students to be a part of, whether it's just organizations or going out and starting your own thing if you think something is missing from campus.
Mm.
Let's see here. And then to a little bit of hope for like yes, there's only a few spots open for each team, or like there's only so many coordinators. The one thing that I am seeing is that the industry is changing. There is a lot of emphasis on social media, and I'd argue that teams are in a way starting to pick up on that and they're starting to get bigger teams. Like we've hired more videographers. Our
Mm.
teams are expanding. So it might not look promising now, but like Aaron was saying, keep applying because eventually things will start opening up. Just because they're realizing how awesome of a revenue and how awesome it is to kind of create your own narrative and share it with your own voice from your own platforms. And then the last thing I'll say is that, similar to what Aaron was saying, like you'll run into a lot of really stressful moments. And I think it's great to figure out how to kind of ground yourself before you jump headfirst in. And like I know sometimes I'll get super worried about asking someone to do something because I think it's going to be like, oh, they're not going to want to do that. But like I kind of just have to pause, take a deep breath, just say, like, I've got this. Like it all works out the way that it's supposed to. But finding some way to kind of help yourself feel at ease as you step into what could be sometimes like very difficult things to ask, or when projects are kind of relying on you to get something done. So just find a way to be able to take a deep breath and stay present in the moment, because that's when you'll be able to solve any of the problems the easiest.
Mm. Ramley, thanks for sharing all of that. Let me just ask a couple quick questions. What major were you when you were here at Texas State?
I was an electronic media major.
Okay, excellent. And then what year did you graduate Texas State?
May of 2023.
May of 2023, and a month later, you land a job with the Rangers.
I signed my contract the day of graduation.
Oh, my day of graduation. So there
Tapping
were
down
there
on signing, headed
my
to
my
Strand.
goodness. Now, what did you do the few days before graduation? Were you just loafing around, you were like not really doing much those days, and then you landed on graduation day. Congratulations on that. What's the name of the student organization you created, you mentioned?
I worked with a group of girls and we created Texas State Sirens,
Oh
which
yeah.
is a women's org on campus. That was just designed to be able to create a network and easier way to meet new people, make friends, and build those friendships that last through college and beyond.
Super, super. Thank you for sharing that. This has really been terrific. Hearing these, thanks for putting that list of advice together. Both you and Aaron have really given us a perspective about these jobs in baseball, which is our primary interest. But many of us that are on this call here today are from Texas State. And so I really want to open this up now for questions. And I want to give a priority first to the students who are currently with us. If you have a question, please use the virtual hand, and I'd be happy to call on you. You can also drop it in the chat, and I can funnel those in as well. We have one of my current media law students and someone who's going to be joining me on my study abroad program to Japan. Stefan has joined us, and he's got a question. So let's start with Stefan. Please, Stefan, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to just ask if to both of y'all, if you guys have had a portfolio that is open, like a public portfolio, and just, I wanted to know like what made you guys really stand out. So I'm just kind of looking for anything that I can put in where, I can be looked as, a former student, but then to something that I can, I can become someone from the real world who has like real, logistics and something to provide.
I'll jump in real quick. Gondola is the new platform that I've seen, and the really cool thing about this is you can actually copy and paste links from different posts that you've posted, and it will drop your metrics in. If it's okay, I can send mine in the chat just to
Please.
kind of get an idea of what it is. But
Yeah.
I put my favorite pieces of work on there, and it hasn't been super updated recently. I kind of updated this at the end of last season, but there's a few things that I probably would add on now. But if you click on the link and you go through it, you can actually see all of my metrics from views to likes, comments, shares. That kind of puts it all into one, and you don't have to sign in like social media accounts. You just copy and paste the link, and it pulls the data for you. So anytime I'm talking with students, that's what I tell them to do, just because it's kind of cool to see as it grows. But yeah, that's my piece of advice. I did start with like a website that was like my own personal one, just because I was like, I need a portfolio. I didn't know Gondola existed, but don't waste your money on a domain unless that's what if you want to like have a place for your photos to live permanently or things like that. But I personally don't ever utilize the domain anymore, so I don't think it was worth it for me in the long run. But Gondola is a great thing to take a look at.
This is a great example where professors like me learn from our graduates and learn from our students. It's a two-way street. But Ramley, thank you for sharing that. Aaron, how would you answer Stefan's question?
The same way you said, I'm just learning about this, so I'm definitely going to check that out. But I myself use just one of those, free Wix site. The Wix website builder. It's really easy. It's pretty user friendly for the most part, and hopefully, if you're going through the mass comm or any, relative major, maybe you've taken website building class. I know my experience at Texas State actually helped me build that out. So that was nice. I got to apply one of my classes to what I was doing. But yeah, I have a free website, a public website. It is a free domain. So I don't have to worry about paying it. You do just have to make sure you keep updating just to keep it live. But just put any of your work on there. Whatever you do, if you feel like it is presentable, that needs to be the biggest thing. It needs to be presentable, it needs to be coherent, so just a little description or something, just detailing what the work you did is and how you were a part of it, whether maybe you only grabbed the content for it, whether video, photo, stuff like that, or if the whole thing was yours, content, copy, the copyright, such like that, and just put it all out there. And with the portfolio, just make it nice, because I have seen people's applications turned down, even though their work itself and the substance was good. The portfolio did not look great, and they were turned down because of that, because it was one of those, attention to detail things. If you can't put the extra time and effort to make your portfolio that you're presenting to possible future employers look nice, what is there to believe that you're going to put that attention to detail later on? So just, be mindful of that. But yes, absolutely. Just build out whatever you can portfolio wise. That gondola sounds great, actually. I'm definitely going to check it out after this. But yeah.
Aaron, thank you. If you could drop in the chat, if you don't mind sharing with us your website, that would be terrific. I'm sure our students would love to see that. Next question's from Jasmine. Jasmine, please go ahead.
Okay, hi. So my question is for you, Brimley. I know you mentioned that you took a sports concentration when you were in college. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I'm majoring in digital media innovation, and I was like, I want to change my major to be like not change it, but I want it to be more so focused on sports. And I don't know if I should do like sports media community, like, because they have that, or just do like the sports concentration. So can you like tell me like what you learned and like what you did when you took the concentration?
That's a good question. And I wish I had my transcripts pulled up so I could remember all of the classes. But I know I took sports media, I think is kind of like the introduction to it. But then there was also this one where we learned how to write for sports media. I don't remember the name or the code of the class, but I think that one was the one that helped the most, just because even to this day, like there's a lot of times where we have to just write copy and it's kind of keeping an ear out for what's trending. And so that means a lot of the time just scrolling through social media. So at my desk, I might be on my phone, but I promise it's work. Um, but there will also be occasions where you have to write in an AP style, like usually anything trade-wise or just other things in general. AP style is sometimes the way to go. So I think that was the most helpful class. And then I will say, like the other thing for Texas State, reach out to the athletic team. That's what I had ended up doing, and that's how I ended up getting a job with them for about a year and a half. So reach out to like people on campus, like that department, and see if there's a way to. I know when I left, there was like four people that they then hired after me for like a similar role. So reach out to them and see if they've got anything kind of on their radar, because I think that's what helps the most with building out the portfolio and having the content to share on there. Sports is news. That's what it was.
Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Yes, that's from Dr. Amber Hensley, my colleague, and she's the coordinator for the journalism program. And I'd like to give an opportunity for her just to share a little bit about some of the exciting things that we're doing in updating the sports as news class and also providing this avenue for a lot of our students who are interested in sports, interested in the different aspects of sports. And so I'm going to ask my colleague Amber Hensley just to jump in briefly to share just a little bit about that, if you don't mind, Amber.
Sure, I'm happy to do that, Gilbert. Thanks. So say anytime we can promote the program, that's exciting and fantastic. So just real quick, I will tell both of our guest speakers, it's been fantastic hearing from both of you. I'm newer to Texas State, so I didn't have a chance to have either one of you in class. And so it's great to hear what our students have gone on to do. And so this is probably something where you're like, oh, shoot, I wish I was coming back to Texas State. A couple of the things that we're doing exciting wise in the world of sports and SJMC is we're actually working right now on developing a sports media minor. So kind of graduating from that sports media concentration, which is just 9 hours, and expanding that out to an 18-hour minor. So Jasmine, you were asking about that. I'm not for sure where you're at in the program, but that minor should be live or available starting next spring. So about a year from now, we'll have the sports media minor that should be available to our students. And it'll include kind of tracks for students who are more interested in the advertising PR side of things. So focused on like kind of what Remley and Aaron are doing. And then also a side that's more focused on the journalism side, where you're taking news reporting classes and there's a class called video production for sports. And so kind of more on that broadcast journalism side of things. So there's a couple of exciting things that we've got coming up at Texas State in the School of Journalism and Mass Comm related to sports media. So thank you, Gilbert.
Oh, Amber, thank you so much for sharing that. And a couple of things that we've heard from Remily and Aaron, talking about networking, using your Bobcat network, Bobcats helping Bobcats, but also content creation. Aaron might be interested to know this, but one of our Study in America programs goes to Seattle. They do that. I think they do that in August, I think is when they do it. And one of the places that they go get to meet and interact with is with the Seattle Mariners. So they get to find out about the different jobs at the Seattle Mariners that are related to content content creation. And then, as I mentioned, Stefan's going to be in my Japan program that's focused on content creation. So if he's interested in sports, Remley, Aaron, just very briefly, if you were interviewing someone for your social media team, and I don't know, they brought you videos of part of their portfolio of what they did while they were in Japan, for example, how valuable is something like that? Assuming that it's well done and so forth. But is that something that would really help them stand out, having that kind of experiential experience added to their portfolio, would you say?
Yeah, I'll start with this one. Absolutely. There is never going to be too much that you could show as long as it's good work,
Mm.
especially if it's something that you're proud of. Definitely, the experience and showing that you're able to, put these things together is absolutely going to hands down be key. And it's going to just look all the more attractive when it comes to, um, seeing the abilities you have and what you're able to produce for the team as well as yourself. Because not only will it show like the substance itself, but it also shows that hey, you have the creativity to go out and capture these things, and not only that, but just come up with new ideas and stuff like that. And that's of course the name of the game for social media. So.
Thank you, Aaron. Remley, you want to add to that?
Yeah. Kind of what I was saying earlier is like a lot of the time when they're hiring for something that's like a coordinator or even an intern, it's that kind of like entry level experience. They're kind of looking for like that baseline of like, does this person know how to edit? Or like, do they get comedic timing? Like one of the things that I did in one of my interviews was they sent me a bunch of clips and they're like, okay, hey, send us back a TikTok. Pick any audio you want, but send it back to us. And I hated that, but it honestly was like so important to be able to showcase like, hey, yeah, I put all that stuff on my portfolio, but I could do it. But yeah, they're looking for a baseline. Sports media or like social media, they're trying to, I see a lot of teams kind of shifting into like not lifestyle content, but some players do like to do that kind of like build their own brand and that kind of content is great for the like, hey, if we want to do some kind of shoot that's more like has an aesthetic look to it, this person knows how to edit to that. But yeah, any editing skills that you can showcase, the team will help you develop them. They just want to know that you can do it at the start.
Excellent. Thank you, Ramley, and thank you, Aaron. These are the great pieces of advice. We have another question. Alexis, please go ahead, Alexis.
Hello. My question was for both of you guys. I know that you touched on it a little bit, Remley, but how did you get the internship or be able to work with Texas State with either, I know specifically baseball, but also like, did you have any other ones, or how did you get to get these internships?
So I'm gonna plug Mass Comm Week because that's actually how I got my initial role with Texas State Athletics. I had been with KTSW for a little bit, and I wasn't like really big into like the radio shows or anything. Like I am very much a behind the scenes person, but I did them and I'm glad I did because it was just like a cool thing to kind of step outside of the comfort zone. Figured out that I did not want to do broadcasting. But I was also able to kind of create a portfolio of photography. So when Mass Comm Week rolled around and not the current, but one of the former assistant directors of marketing, he came in and was talking on a Mass Comm Week panel and was like, "Hey, we're about to hire." And I said, "No way. Here is my resume and portfolio. Please hire me." And it worked out that I think I was just the first one to reach out. Like as soon as that Zoom call ended, I found his email and sent him a message saying like, "Hey, heard you talking about this. Like that's where I'm interested in going." And then while I was there, they kind of shifted different assistant directors. And each one I got to learn more underneath. But like utilize KTSW and the University Star, but also do reach out to the athletic program just because you never know what's open.
Yeah, great piece of advice there. Aaron, do you want to add to that also? Do you have any insight there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you keep up to date on those announcements and like the Barcom week, and then also just ask questions. Like if you go to a game and you see someone actually doing the job that you seem interested in, don't be afraid to go and talk to them. And just after they're done, of course, don't catch them in the middle of the shift or something. But after the fact. reach out to them, just try to track them down a bit and just ask, hey, who can I talk to do what you do, or how can I be a part of what you did? I mean, that's um, like Remley said, I was actually with KTSW for a little while as well. I would do a radio, the broadcast for baseball and softball. And I mean, that's how it is. I was like, I would love to do radio calls for baseball
Mm.
and softball. And I went and I found one of the broadcasters. I just asked him, I was like, hey, how can I do what you do? And he just pointed me in the right direction, join KTSW, and be a part of just join the broadcast, or the radio group, and that's all it took. That's all it took. It's just
Um,
going and asking the questions.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. There's a lot of similarities here, with sports, but also, hustling, and working hard, building your portfolio, building your skills, getting better every day. But it's also being ready, right? Like Remley was talking about, as soon as that session was over, she found the email address, she reached out, Aaron, he found who he needed to talk to, he asked those questions. This is great advice. I want to thank Alexis for asking that question when she turned her camera on, recognize her as a former student of mine in media law. So really, really excited, to hear these great questions from students. I think we have time for one more question. Both Remley and Aaron have been very generous with their time. We're gonna wrap this up here with them here shortly. But if there's anybody that has one final question they would like to ask, you can use your virtual hand. Anybody have a question for Remley or for Aaron? I have one more. If I don't see anybody raising their hand, I don't think I'm missing anybody. What's the funniest thing? We'll end with this. We'll end on the kind of a fun note. Remley, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Aaron. What's the funniest thing, maybe intentionally or unintentionally, that you did with the social media account? There's some trash talking that goes on, with baseball teams. Some more aggressive than others, and sometimes even mean-spirited. And it's like I personally don't like to see the mean stuff. I like clever stuff. I like if it's lighthearted. Gentle teasing is, acceptable in sports. But I'm wondering if there was something maybe that happened during the course of the season that that you had a big part of, and say, hey, this would be funny to do, maybe to engage fans, to make fans laugh, to kind of have kind of a good-natured kind of thing. Maybe is there something like that that sticks out for you, Remley, and then Aaron, for you also? Remley, let's start with you.
Yeah. First off, I'd like to say, just if anyone on here ever wants to reach out, please feel free to connect on LinkedIn. My email address, please share it. Anyone who wants to reach out, you're more than welcome to.
Oh,
But then as far as the question goes, I too, I do not care for the mean-spirited kind of call outs. That's just never been my nature.
yeah.
And anytime I hear something, I'm like, let's not, no, no, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think one of the things that like that we do that I do really like, there's two things actually. One of the things is I work a lot with our mascot, and he kind of is a little uh crazy with his social posts sometimes, but I was brought on for kind of consulting for that. So I think he does kind of a fun job. One of the things that we did was kind of each team, not each team, but some of the teams that we were playing against last year, we were trying to do like funny things. So like the best example I think is Boston. When Boston was in town towards the end of the season, he had a Boston Tea Party, but crossed out Boston and put like Texas Tea Party. So I think like one of those things that's more like, I don't want to say kid oriented, but like more like, oh, everyone's gonna think that's funny.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that I like, but our mascot captain, I think, is one that I like working on the most. And then the other fun things that like I think are funny is when teams will take like album covers and they'll edit in like their players or things like that. So so sorry. Last year for a Taylor Swift album cover, we put in the World Series trophy, which I thought was super funny.
Yeah, yeah. Super. Thank you so much, Remley. I appreciate that. Aaron, how about you?
Um, it's kind of hard to call. 'Cause it's a lot. I've been fortunate enough to join teams that are really like more leaning on say the like meme voices and stuff like that. Within reason. One of the fun things we did actually was in Seattle in 23 on that last week of the season, where it was that half game race between the three top AOS teams.
Yeah.
Um, if any of y'all are familiar with Lord of the Rings, and particularly the Two Towers at the end with King Rohammer. He's it began at the beginning of the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just photoshopped a Seattle hat on him and then put the schedule down because everybody knew it was going to come down to the wire. That was a lot of fun, and it took maybe 5 minutes of work, but it was just a lot of fun that everybody enjoyed and the fans really loved. And then just a lot of things that like we did like in the moment, and that's always kind of the most enjoyable stuff. Like say for instance, it was a little crass, and I was actually really surprised we did it. But again, in Seattle, Cal hit two home runs, back-to-back home runs in Boston in the same game. And
Mhm.
on the second home run, a fan on top of the Green Monster decided to, throw a double bird on broadcast. So we took that image and we put two baseballs over his hands, and Cal's gone, two for
Yeah.
two today on going yard, and that blew up, and that was a lot of fun. So everybody loved that, and it's just like those moments are, they're little moments, but it's just those things where it's like you can whip up on the spot, and it just
Yeah.
feeling the mood of whatever's happening. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It makes the job much more enjoyable.
Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific. Aaron, remind me, what year did you graduate Texas State? If you could just remind me.
Yes, I graduated in 22. I actually did have you for a class.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I promise, like you probably won't remember. I was very quiet and I kind of sat in the back. I was very reserved. So I was just just trying to focus on passing. So I was very quiet and just doing my work. But yes, I graduated in 22.
Thank you very much. I have hundreds of students every semester, and some are on the online class, and I don't always recognize everybody. But I'm grateful to hear that you were in my media law class, most likely, and I hope you had a good experience. But thank you both, Aaron and Remley, for sharing time with us today. You've been very generous with your time, sharing your insights, and also providing the support for our students to reach out to you. I'm very grateful for that, for what you've shared. I'm glad they've had an opportunity to join us for our meeting today to talk baseball, to talk about your experiences, and then also learn about what you guys have done. So I'm recording this, so I'll probably share a link on YouTube on our website so that people can watch this if they weren't able to make it today. But I'm very grateful that you've joined. I just want to let everybody know, our meeting's not quite over yet. I encourage people to stick around, and Remley and Aaron, you're welcome to stick around if you have the time. We're going to do some other things that we typically do in our meetings. We typically have a trivia quiz that is quite challenging at times, but it's always a lot of fun. And this is something we like to do. So we're going to get to that here in just a moment. I'm going to transition now, and I want to let me just check and see. Brendan Gilbreth is with us today. He is a Texas Tech University, a Texas Tech law school student who's from the Austin area, and he reached out because he had put together this research project and wanted to share it with our members. And what I want to do is I want to give him a chance just briefly to talk about the research that he's done, the article that he's written, and in the February newsletter, I will share this draft with everybody. He's asking for any help or support or insight that anybody can give. And so those that are on this call may be interested in his research, maybe able to offer maybe a proofread. Thank you so much, Remley, for joining us. Thank you very much. So I'd like to turn it over to Brendan to please share a little bit about the work that he's done and then what he's asking. Please, Brendan, to you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Howdy, folks from the booming metropolis of Lubbock, Texas. I appreciate y'all having me join. I'm actually from Fayetteville, Texas, which a lot different than Austin in that we've only got about 200 people, but not too far away. So what Mr. Martinez was telling you about, I'm actually a second-year law student here at Texas Tech, and I'm part of our law journal. And so I put together an article talking about it's a critique of the 2024 Major League Baseball's their Negro League Financial Assistance Program, saying that it doesn't go far enough in helping the people that actually played in the league, mainly because there's actually only two people from the period of 1920 to 1948 that are still even alive to benefit from the plan. And so what I've done is, first of all, put together a background kind of explaining the history of the Negro Leagues, and a lot of the stuff that I put together for that actually came from old Saber articles. And so I worked a lot with the Negro League Family Alliance with Sean Gibson, who is the grandson of Josh Gibson. And whenever I finally put it together, he told me, "Hey, why don't you reach out to your local Saber chapter? I'm sure they'd be happy to help and see if anybody wants to give it a read through, see if there's anything that they can help you with." So that's what I did. And I want to talk a little bit about kind of what I'm proposing. So basically, what I've done is put together a new plan that could be adopted and turned into a CBA amendment through memorialization, things of that nature, with Major League Baseball. And what the plan kind of covers is a new iteration of the 2024, the Negro League Financial Assistance Program. And I put that together through looking at old plans, the 1997 plan, 2004 plan, and then the 2024 plan as well. And so putting those together, I was able to put together, and I can share my screen if you want me to, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, let me adjust that setting. Go right ahead.
Okay. Let me see if I can pull it up. Basically, what the proposal does is it allows the families, not just those who played in the Negro Leagues. Like I said, the only ones left are Ron Teasley and Bill Greason. And there's so many families that weren't able to benefit and need those benefits now. And so I put this together. Let me share it. Can y'all see my screen?
Not yet.
I'm not the most tech savvy person. Let's see. But basically what it's doing is it opens up a new benefits package for the veterans of the Negro Leagues. And what that benefits package looks like, and I had to build onto the plan and establish service time parameters. And I did that through the qualifications for things like the record books that was put together by the Negro League Research Committee. Mm. And let me see. Here we go. Can y'all see that now?
Yes.
Okay. So,
yep, got it.
So this is, it's a long article. It's not a page turner. Anything legal is not a fun read, I will say. But this is the meat and potatoes of it. This is what I put together and proposed, and it's up for publication now through a few law journals across the country. And it's 3 different benefits packages based on the playing time that a veteran of the Negro Leagues had in the league from the years of 1920 to 1948. So the first one is someone who has service time of 4 seasons would get a $60,000 benefits package. And that number is what I got from the 2004 plan, and just opened that up and I kind of adjusted it for inflation to this year's amount, which would have brought it to $60,000. And the other parameters, things of like the payments across 4 years, are also brought over from the 2004 plan. Second one is service time of 2 years, and just opens up a half benefits package where it brings it down to $30,000. And then the third one is basically the same. It's 1 season and $15,000. And those benefits, instead of going to the veteran of the Negro Leagues, it would go to their family they've already passed. And that's something that none of the plans before have allowed it to do, but that the MLB pension plan does allow for. So I'm just making these plans as parallel to the current MLB pension plan as it can be. So there's a lot more to it, and there was a lot of work that went into it, but that's the basis of what I wanted to share with y'all today.
Okay.
And just wanted to get any feedback, wanted to share it with you if anybody was interested at all, and see if there was anybody that wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. Brendan, thank you so much for sharing that. I know you said that you drew on a lot of help from Saber articles and Saber databases and research and everything. So let me open it up to the group. Does anybody have a question or feedback for Brendan? I am going to share his draft. He shared that with me. I'll share it in the February newsletter. That likely will be published tomorrow or the day after, Brendan. But that'll be on our website as well. So the reach will be beyond just who's here today. This will go out to all of our members and also potentially to Saber at large as well. But any reactions, any thoughts, anybody, questions maybe for Brendan, anybody? Well, I'm real excited about the proposal that you put together. I'm, really much looking forward to taking a look at your proposal and putting this out. We have often helped members on drafts of articles. You probably have thought of this, but you may want to consider, the SABR convention this year is going to be in Arlington. I think they're offering, or they have a call for research presentations. I think this is right up there and something that you should consider presenting because that's where you'll have a sort of a national platform to get the word out and then also potentially publication in some of the different SABR publications as well. But that's the biggest piece of advice I can offer. And then I see that Tom has a question, so we'll turn it over to Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like what kind of, I guess, what kind of feedback are you looking for from us, or what kind, is it feedback on the draft itself, or or is it more how to get it adopted, or how to get it in front of the people that can make it happen?
So it's a little bit of both. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to make a push to get it published in law article or law journals at first. And so just anybody that I can say like, hey, so and so has reviewed my article, thinks it would be a worthy addition to your law journal, and that helps me get it published there. Or, I mean, like y'all were just talking about the meeting in Arlington, that'd be a fantastic opportunity, I think, to go ahead and talk about this. And so anything like that where I can get more eyes and ears on it, and just see what I can do and go from there.
Like, are you looking for like specific people with like legal knowledge? Because as you said, there's obviously going to be a lot of legalese in there, or people with like collective bargaining experience. I mean, I don't have any of that background. I don't know if any of us do, but it was just kind of, was there a certain kind of expertise that you were looking for?
I mean, that'd be fantastic if I could find anything like that. I've had some people that look over it. I've had a professor here at the law school who's an employment law specialist look over it with me. Another one who's an estate planning specialist. And then I've also talked to a couple of sports attorneys who have looked at it. So I've gotten a little bit of expertise to look at it. But obviously, I'm open to any kind of feedback on it and just anything to strengthen it at this point.
Have you tried to be in contact with the current Players Association?
I have not. That'd be a great idea. I know I included the current MLBPA pension committee in it, so that was maybe a group that I was going to target within the MLBPA itself. But I am working on submitting it to the Baseball Hall of Fame for their annual research meeting as well. So have a couple of feelers out and hopefully get some feedback on it soon from them as well.
Yeah. Hey, Brandon, there are a couple of things in the chat from Don and also from Jerry. Jerry's a practicing attorney, and I didn't know this about Jerry being a former legal writing instructor at a now defunct law school, he says, but he'd be happy to take a look and give you feedback. So sounds like you've got some support and people interested in the work that you're doing and then can hopefully give you some feedback to help you. I did see Linda's hand up there a second ago. Linda, do you have a question or a comment?
Just a couple of, I just wondered what, I might have missed it in what you said, but what got you interested in this in the first place? And if you're going to present in Arlington, there's a deadline to submit your proposal.
Okay, that's great.
I don't know what it is, but there is a deadline.
Yes, ma'am. I'll definitely give that a look. I'll be in Dallas all summer, so that would be a fantastic opportunity. But what first got me interested
Where I started in SABR 30 years ago.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I mean, like I said, y'all were instrumental in me putting this together. Between the bios, there was even an article, I believe, from Supreme Court Justice Alito that helped me a lot as well. So what first got me started is I was named to the Law Journal here at Texas Tech. And I thought, man, I don't, there's so many things at the law school that we do, and half of it will put you to sleep. And so I figured I want to write about something I enjoy. And so I wanted to write about baseball. This is a topic that has been on my mind since May when it first came out. And whenever I put that together, that idea kind of took off. All of my professors that looked over it, I enjoyed the idea. My staff editors that were reviewing it as well just thought it was a great idea. And so it's something that I put together and really enjoyed as well. And that's what really got me interested at first.
Excellent. Great question, Linda. We added some things in the chat for you, Brendan, a link to just the general page for the convention itself, and then
Fantastic.
specifically the invitation for presentations. The deadline is February 16th, so you still have plenty of time to put something like that together. I highly encourage you to try to participate. This sounds like something that is right up the alley of Sabre conventions, the kind of thing that you're presenting, and especially a proposal that you're making. I mean, this is how you'll get the attention of people that are interested in this, that have the expertise in this, and can even maybe help make this happen. So very excited for you, and so glad that you took some time to join us today to share some of this with you. And like I said, I'll share your draft in the February newsletter, and then hope you're able to join the Sabre 53 convention in Arlington this summer.
Sounds great. And I'll send you an updated draft as well. And Mr. Miller, I would love to take you up on that. Even if it is a defunct law school, that's more writing credentials than I have for sure. And Dawn, I will be as soon as I hear back on publication, I will post it with that hashtag, and hopefully that will help as well. That's a fantastic tip.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Glad you joined us here today. And now, last but not least, I'll end with some announcements about future meetings and so forth. But I want to give Tom a chance to present his quiz. And Tom, I've got your quiz available to share on screen. I wonder if we should just, I can put that on the screen and then you could read the questions. We've got 30 questions on the quiz itself, and people can write their answers as we go. Tom, is that a good way to proceed, do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. Like you mean like actually go through and give the answers at the time, or do we want to just go through and have people fill it out and then go back?
Yeah, question by question. We'll do the answers afterward, and then this is on the honor system. You grade yourself, and we'll see how everyone does. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. This is a quiz about catchers, so that's sort of the theme. This is related to the research that Tom presented last month, offering a new way to evaluate catchers. So I'm going to share my screen. He calls it the Tools of Ignorance quiz. And so for purpose of this quiz, a catcher is defined as a player who played 45% or more of his career as a catcher. Each name is 1 point. So I'll turn it over to Tom so we can go through the questions, and I'll scroll as we go. Are there any questions before we get started? I think everyone knows what we're doing here. Any questions for me or Tom before we get started?
Mr. Martinez, you mind if I give it a shot?
Oh, Brendan, I would love for you to take part in it. Good luck. All right, Tom, take it away.
All right. So yeah, I guess this was inspired by some of the research I'm doing. Although I definitely tried to make the quiz accessible to everyone. I didn't want to make it like super hard and super obscure. There are probably some questions in here that are pretty hard, but there should be questions that that most people have a shot at getting. I'm kind of compiling like a catcher database. So some of this stuff was stuff I've kind of just, doing that. I've discovered some of the stuff, and other are just more just kind of just random trivia. So kind of go ahead and get started if everybody's ready. So number one, who was the first catcher inducted into the Hall of Fame as a player? Just FYI, the first catcher inducted to the Hall of Fame was actually as a manager, but this is the first person who actually was inducted as a player.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you that are new to this, sometimes these quizzes are either you know it or you don't. Scout's honor here, you're not supposed to be doing any kind of outside research. It's what's in your noggin.
Reference.
Yes.
Baseball reference down. All right. So kind of to piggyback off of that, number two is who was the most recent catcher inducted into the Hall of Fame? And again, keep in mind, 45% or more of their career played as a catcher. That defines. So no Craig Biggio, no Jimmy Fox. All right. So for number 3, continuing with the Hall of Fame theme, there are 3 Negro League catchers in the Hall of Fame. And by that, I mean they did not play in integrated ball. These were 3 players. They only played in the Negro Leagues. One of them is who many people, myself included, think is probably the greatest catcher of all time. One of them is actually from our Central Texas area. He was from the Luling area, just southeast of here. And the other one was actually from Fort Worth. So two Texans among these 3. It's interesting. I was looking at the catchers in the Hall of Fame, where they are from. They are pretty spread out. There's two of them are from California, 2 of them are from Texas, 2 of them are from Pennsylvania, and I think every other is just one from Illinois, one from New York, one from Georgia. They're pretty spread out over the country. One from Louisiana, one from Oklahoma. One born in Vermont, but grew up in New Hampshire. All right, number 4. So one of the answers to number 3, one of those Negro League catchers, had the highest career OPS among all catchers by far. However, besides that player, which catcher had the second highest career OPS? And I guess I should probably qualify there. I didn't look to see if anybody with like 100 plate appearances. These are for people with full careers. So number 5 is to kind of go the other end. Which catcher had the worst OPS of all time? Minimum 1,000 plate appearances. And again, this one is also not even close. All right, we'll see if Jerry can get number 6. This former Dodger has the highest postseason OPS among catchers with 50 or more postseason plate appearances.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jerry had to run, but he will compare his answers with the participants today.
Is Dan here? Is Dan online?
No Dan.
No Dodgers, so no Dodgers fans.
Right.
All right. So number 7, this 2-time MVP award winner has the highest postseason OPS among catchers with 150 plus postseason plate appearances. For number 8, so of the top 5 catchers in career innings caught, 2 of those 5 are eligible for the Hall of Fame, but are not in the Hall of Fame. So name those 2. I will say of the top 5, 2 of them are in the Hall of Fame. One of them is not eligible yet for the Hall of Fame. He has not come up yet. So I'm not counting that player. But 2 people basically that have been retired for more than 5 years.
So Tom, are they currently eligible, as in
yes,
they were on the most recent ballot?
Oh, well, I mean currently eligible as in I don't know if they were on the ballot. They probably were not on the most recent ballot.
Oh, I see.
They're eligible as in they could get in via the Veterans Committee.
Okay.
They could, not Pete Rose, and they're not ineligible for life, and they're not, and they've the 5-year waiting period has elapsed.
Okay, got it.
Number 9, this catcher gave up the most stolen bases among catchers who played after 1945. Basically post-World War II. Kind of important because, as you would expect, generally the catchers that gave him the most stolen bases are dead ball catchers, generally 19th century catchers. I believe Deacon McGuire actually has the most stolen bases given up. He was mostly a 19th century catcher. He gave up something like 2,200 stolen bases, but it was a very different game. And then 10 goes the other way. This catcher caught the most runners stealing among catchers who played after 1945. Again, taking out the dead ball catchers who lead statistics. Essentially, the modern players. To go with the fielding theme, this catcher has 11. This catcher has the most Gold Gloves won for a career. And then number 12 is which active catcher has the most Gold Gloves. So, player who will be playing in 2025. So for number 13, I don't know how much of y'all are familiar with the concept of MVP shares. It was a stat adopted by or developed by Bill James, basically taking MVP voting and adding up, there's a formula for adding up the votes that people got. So you get MVP shares whether or not you won the MVP. Obviously, if you're second, you get a certain amount, third. So this is just which catcher has had the most MVP shares for their career. And number 14 is who's the catcher who has the second most MVP shares, and this catcher never actually won an MVP award. He just came second or third. He was close many times, but never got the gold ring. Then number 15 continues the theme with which catcher has the most MVP shares among catchers who are not currently in the Hall of Fame. Number 16, back to defense. This catcher has the highest pot stealing percentage of all time in a minimum of 1,000 innings caught. Again, this is all catchers from any era. Now some famous events that have involved catchers. Which number 17? Which catcher willed the ball fair for a home run to end Game 6 of the 1975 World Series? And 18 is a corollary. What catcher was behind the plate when the home run was hit? Number 19, which catcher chased Pedro Martinez with a game-tying double in Game 7 of the 2003 ALCS? When people compare Sandy Koufax and Pedro Martinez, I've always thought, I can never remember a time that the manager was sorry that he left Sandy Koufax in the game. All right, number 20. So the two leaders in games caught among catchers have the same nickname. Name those two catchers. I guess you could name the nickname as well, but you just get points for getting their names. All-time games caught. 21. Which catcher who had the satanic OPS of 666 was more famous for his rain delay theater and winning the 1983 World Series MVP award? You remember rain delay? Those of you that may have watched like This Week in Baseball back in the 80s know what rain delay theater was. All right. Which catcher attempted to catch a grapefruit dropped from a plane, but believing it to be a baseball, thought he had been mortally wounded when it splattered all over him? He did survive. All right, 23. Which former broadcaster was the youngest catcher ever to play in Major League? This catcher hit a home run in his first career at bat and in his first All-Star at bat. So name the two Astros managers, including interim managers, who were former catchers. And by that, I mean they were, whether or not major league, minor league, they were a catcher when they were a player. Continue the managerial theme. This former catcher has the most career wins as a manager. And then this former catcher, who was born in France, is the current leader in wins as a manager. I guess when I say current, I should have said active leader. It is a current manager among active managers. Is the leader. All right. This catcher's deep fly ball was snagged in a leaping catch against the center field wall by Chas McCormick to preserve the Astros' lead in the ninth inning of Game 5 of the 2022 World Series.
I remember it well.
All right, number 29. This Giants catcher with a politically incorrect moniker played on 4 pennant winners and finished in the top 10 in MVP voting with the Chalmers Award at the time 3 different times. A member of the Cahuilla people, he eventually earned his former nickname when he became police chief of the Mission Indian Agency. And then the last question, this catcher whose surname is somewhat similar to a catcher who's in the Hall of Fame, who was a contemporary, has the most WAR, wins above replacement, of any catcher who is eligible to be in the Hall of Fame but is not in the Hall of Fame. Same as the other one, like eligible as that could theoretically be veterans.
Okay, that's all 30, Tom. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, does anybody need to see a question again? Okay, not seeing that anybody needs a question again. Oh, I'm going to stop my share here just for a moment.
That
If
means
you need
it must have been too easy. Everyone just got it.
yeah, well, we'll see here in just about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the quiz answers. Okay, hang on a second, Tom. I just need to access that document. And then what we'll do is we'll go through it and I'll ask you to read the answers. And you don't have to reread the question, just in the interest
Okay.
of time. You can just tell us what the answer is. But give me just a moment as I pull it up because I know I've got it.
Well, I'd like
And
to give, I mean, if anybody knows the answers,
yeah.
yell
Yeah.
them out.
Oh yeah. You know what? Why don't we do it that way?
Yeah.
And then yeah, absolutely.
Or if you have a guess.
Yeah. Okay. So any guesses on, okay, so Tom, I'll let you do this. You can make a call for guesses for number one and so forth.
All right. Okay. Anyone have the answer to number one?
Bresnahan?
This is the first catcher inducted into the Hall of Fame as a player.
Bresnahan?
Close. So it depends on the definition of who is a catcher. So my definition was anyone who had a career 45% as a catcher. So it's Buck Ewing. Roger Bresnahan is the first who had more than 50% of their games as a catcher. So good guess. But yeah, Buck Ewing, who generally was considered as a catcher, as a player, even though he played a lot of games at first base at the end of his career. Connie Mack, of course, was the first catcher in the Hall of Fame, but he was not. He went in as manager and not as catcher. Anyone have the answer to number two? Most recent catcher inductee into the Hall of Fame.
Mauer?
Correct. He just barely had over 50% of his games. But again, he was probably thought of as a catcher. All right. Anyone have the answers to number three, the Negro League catchers?
I'm thinking Biz Mackey, Josh Gibson, and Ted Radcliffe.
You got two out of the three, Gibson and Mackey. Mackey is from the Luling area. Anyone got the third one? The gentleman from Fort Worth. He is generally lesser known. Louis Santop was the third one. He's one of the more recent inductees into the Hall of Fame. Obviously, Gibson went in with early on, and then Mackey came in like in the 90s.
Yeah, I said Radcliffe as well.
I don't think Radcliffe's in the Hall of Fame.
Right, yeah.
All right. Anybody have the answer to number four? So Josh Gibson has the highest OPS for any player, for any catcher. Sorry, by quite a bit. It's a non-Negro League player who is next in line.
Was it Johnny Bench?
Nope, not Johnny Bench. Johnny Bench is up there.
Piazza?
Piazza's correct. 922 OPS. The only other catcher over 900. What catcher has the worst OPS of all? In fact, worst of any position player, worse than many pitchers. Probably
Mo
the worst.
Berg?
Is he? I may have heard it.
Is it Mo Berg?
Oh no, that is a good guess. Moberg is definitely down there. He's probably down the catcher who was a spy. But the name of this player is similar, has a similar last name to
Oh,
He's
Burger.
kind of an. What'd you say,
Was
Si?
it some? Was it Burger?
Bill Bergen.
Bergen. Yeah, I just couldn't think of that. I
Yep.
knew early 1900s, right?
Yep.
Dead ball era. Yeah, I
Yep.
couldn't remember him. I've heard his name before.
He generally hit worse than many of the pitchers that he caught. I don't know where he batted in the batting order, but he would have been a good candidate for Tony La Russa's let's put the pitcher eighth, because he was a truly like he was under the Mendoza line. It should be called the Bergen line. He was under the Mendoza line for his career. All right, anyone have the answer for number 6?
Jaeger.
Nope. Good
No.
guess. More recent. I was kind of surprised because it was actually a fairly recent player, but it was not something I was aware of until I kind of got the. I figured maybe a Dodgers fan might know it, but probably be a little difficult for.
Is it AJ Ellis?
Correct. Got it.
My original one was Roy Campanella when you said origin or sooner.
Yeah. So yeah. AJ Ellis had a OPS of 1.065. Funny thing, he never played in the World Series, but he had lots of good postseason success. All right, anyone have the answer for number 7? Someone, the higher plate appearance threshold. This one is a little more expected. Was not a surprising answer.
What about Berra?
Bear's a good guess.
Johnny Bench.
Johnny Bench. Johnny Bench is correct. Berra did hit very well in the postseason. Bench had a OPS of 862. Berra's was not too far behind. Interestingly, I also looked at who had the highest for 100 at bats in between, the highest OPS for 100 bats, and it was a tie between Thurman Munson and Liz Mackey. All right, number 8. Anyone have both of those answers?
Speaking of Thurman Munson, would be one, and Bob Boone would probably be another good guess.
What was the question? What's question 8?
Oh, it was the two of the top 5 catchers and innings caught. These 2 are eligible but are not in the Hall of Fame. And Don just got one of them, Bob Boone. Who is the other?
Santiago.
Nope. Santiago is up there. This one was kind of a surprise to me. This person kind of snuck up on me getting that high.
Yeah, Munson probably got cut short, huh?
Yeah, Munson didn't quite have the longevity. Here's a hint. His father was a catcher in Major League.
Bob Boone.
Yeah. Well, his father was not a catcher. His father was a major leaguer. So Jason Kendall.
Oh, wow.
Kendall over 17,000. He had more innings caught than Gary Carter. Not some. Yeah. He apparently hung on for a long time, and I wasn't really paying attention to him because he was a star with the Pirates, and then he was a non-star with other teams for quite a while. Pretty durable. All right. Number 9, most stolen bases given up for a modern catcher. Anybody have a guess?
Mike Piazza.
Close. That's a good guess. It's not, but Mike Piazza gave up a fair share. Probably if Piazza had played in the 70s and the 80s, he would have given up more. But he, because of when he played, there were fewer stolen bases. The answer is a little bit of a surprise to me. It's Gary Carter. Gary Carter gave up 1,498 stolen bases. A lot of it was a function of his longevity, but people also, for whatever reason, they did not seem to respect him behind the plate. Anybody have the answer to number 10? Most caught stealing post World War II.
Was that one Benito Santiago?
Nope.
Irod.
No, and the reason it's not Irod is because not people didn't run on him.
Right, yeah.
You know, obviously Irod had a higher caught stealing percentage, but people didn't run on him enough. Probably the same for Santiago. I think Santiago and Irod's caught stealings are about the same. So a little bit of a trick question. So the answer is Gary Carter.
No.
With 810 caught stealings. For whatever reason, they really, really like to run against Gary Carter. And a lot of them were successful. A lot of them were caught. All right. Number 11. Who has the most gold gloves?
Is it Molina?
No, Molina is second.
Rod, likely.
It is Irod. Yes, Irod with lucky 13 gold gloves. I think Molina was like 10. I'm assuming you mean Yadier Molina. Who is the active catcher who has the most gold gloves?
Sal Perez.
That's correct. Sal Perez.
Oh,
he's probably not going to get 13, but he could potentially add to that.
Do you know how many Real Muto has?
No, but I can look it up. I think Real Muto only has like 3 or something.
Okay, yeah, no biggie.
Actually, yeah, he has 2.
Okay.
All right. The answer to number 13, most MVP shares for catcher.
Campanella?
Nope.
No.
Dale Murphy?
No, and Dale Murphy's not considered a catcher for this because he played the vast majority of his career in the outfield.
Bench?
Nope. Campanella's got to be up there, and benches too. Now this player had 3.98 MVP shares, won the MVP award 3 times. And Campanella did win it 3 times. Yogi Berra.
Oh, Jesus.
No, Yogi, not Jesus, Yogi.
Yeah, not Jesus. So who is second in MVP shares for catcher? And this player never won an MVP award.
Fisk?
No, good guess, but no.
No. No.
I was kind of. This is one of those things when I looked up, I was like, wow, I didn't remember that. Because it was a player that I did see play. It is Mike Piazza.
Oh, Jesus.
Finished with 3.22 MVP shares.
I know Piazza, not Jesus.
Yeah. and he would get run down for his arm, and his arm was bad, but the writers apparently respected him. He was consistently, second, third, fifth. All right. So of the catchers not in the Hall of Fame, who has the most MVP shares?
Yeah.
And I know they're putting pretty much everyone in the Hall of Fame, so that list gets smaller and smaller every year. Like Ted Simmons is now in. And, So this one, this player may eventually be in the Hall of Fame. It's Buster Posey. 1.63. All right. Who has the highest stolen base percentage of all time? Like 1,000 innings caught minimum.
I think it's Campanella, isn't it?
That is correct.
All right, I got that one.
57%. Yeah, don't run on that guy. And again, and you look at the numbers, and people did not run on him.
You know, the second highest percentage, of course, it's not with a qualifier, is I think Clay Dalrymple.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I know the second highest among catchers with longer careers is Gabby Hartnett with like 54, 55%. But yeah, Campy was pretty amazing. All right, who waved the home run fair?
Carlton Fisk.
Correct. Yeah. And who was behind the plate?
Johnny Bench.
Johnny Bench, correct. Who chased Petey in 2003?
Posada.
Posada, correct. All right. Who are the top two in games caught who have the same nickname?
Pudge. Ivan Rodriguez and Carlton Fisk.
Correct. Who's Rain Delay Theater?
Rick Dempsey.
Rick
Yeah.
Dempsey. Sliding up and down the tarp, putting on a show, and winning the 1983 World Series MVP.
Hey, you all might remember this, but he also would make fun of Jim Palmer for his jockey underwear ads and go out there pretend to be Jim Palmer on the mound with the jockey underwear on the outside of his baseball pants.
I don't remember. I don't think that was in This Week in Baseball. I don't know if that made it there.
Yeah, maybe not.
All right, who tried to catch the grapefruit?
Was that
Hartnett?
Gabby Street?
Nope.
Gabby Hartnett?
Gabby Street tried a similar stunt.
From the Washington Monument.
Yeah.
But what about Gabby Hartnett?
Nope, not Gabby Hartnett.
No. Okay.
I believe it's a contemporary of Gabby Street, I believe this player, or the man when you actually, I think he was a manager by that time.
Billy Martin?
No. Uncle Robbie Wilbert Robinson.
Oh.
Manager of the Brooklyn Robins. Well, I think people suspected that Casey Stengel may have been involved in that frame, but because he was expecting the baseball, and what I had read is actually the pilot of the plane, Ruth Law, thought that he might if a baseball might actually kill him, and so substituted a grapefruit, figuring that would be safer. All right, who's the youngest catcher ever?
Tim McCarver.
Correct.
It's the broad. Oh, I don't know his age, but the broadcaster tip is why I made that guess.
So he was 17.
Wow.
He played as like a 17, 18, and 19.
Incredible.
Catching Bob Gibson. All right, who hit the first home run in their career and first career at bat and first All-Star at bat?
Giovanni Soto?
Nope.
Bench?
Nope. This is not an easy one. It's a player that y'all will recognize.
What was it? Mickey Cochran?
Nope.
Because the other ones are easier, right, Tom?
They are. No, not Elias Diaz. All right, it was Terry Steinbach.
No.
The Oakland A's. I'm pretty sure I remember I saw him at the All-Star. All right, who are the two Astros managers and interim manager who were former catchers?
I know AJ Hinch is one. I don't know the other.
Correct. I believe the other one. No, not pre. It was a few years earlier. Tony DeFrancesco. He was the interim manager, I think, after Brad Mills got fired. He was a minor league catcher. All right, most wins all time as a manager, this former catcher, and the first catcher inducted in the Hall of Fame, but he went in as a manager.
Torrey?
Nope. I know one of our former members will be very disappointed if we don't get this.
Al Lopez?
Nope.
No. No idea then.
Honey Mac?
What'd you say?
Honey Mac?
Honey Mac, correct.
No.
Because remember, what was it? Norman? Norman would be very sad if we didn't get that one.
Linda saved us.
Who is the active leader in wins among managers? Who is a former catcher and who played for the Astros?
Bruce Bochy.
Bruce Bochy, correct. Born in France. He's not French. I think his father was. All right, who hit the home run that Chaz saved us?
Well, it wouldn't have been
not
a
the
home
run. Hit the fly ball that was not a home run.
Yeah, that's right. JT Real Muto.
Correct. was the catcher who became the police chief? Native American catcher who became a police chief.
Chief Myers?
Correct. John Myers, Goat went by Jack or Chief. Just so you know, Baseball Reference has actually changed. You know, he's listed as Jack Myers now. And I remember when I was looking through that, I was like, wow, I've never heard of this Jack Myers. He could really hit. It took me a while to figure out, but yeah, then he became officially Chief Myers when he became the chief of police for his people. So, all right, highest WAR for a catcher who is not in the Hall of Fame. Jim Baker will be very disappointed. Jim knows this.
Jim's a curmudgeon. He's disappointed by all sorts of things.
And because he wrote an article about this player for the first Bill James historical abstract.
Oh, okay.
And he has a similar name to a contemporary catcher who was in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, Wally Shang.
Wally Shang.
No, I didn't get it, but that extra hint.
Yeah, Jim wrote a nice article about like Ray Shaw versus Wally Shang in the historical abstract. That was probably the first time I'd ever even heard of the guy.
What's the similarity, Tom?
Oh, their name, they start with the first same letter, Shang, Shaw.
Oh, I see.
The name similarity.
Got it. Okay. All right, tallied it up. Who's got what?
And yeah, so basically each name is 1 point. So
Right.
the ones with 3, you know, if you get any of them, you get a point for each one you got.
Yeah.
I got 14.
Anyone top 14?
You gotta be kidding.
I had 12.
Okay.
I made a run. Anybody else in double digits? Okay, anyone with 9? 8? Don had 8. Brendan had 8.
I think Peter's in there with 11.
Oh, Peter had 11. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 9, Gilbert. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That was Don that had 9?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And Brendan, you had 8 or 9, Brendan?
8.
8. Very good. Congratulations. Okay, so we do have a prize for today's quiz. Chris Crombar donated this. He has he buys baseball prints from a particular artist, and he happened to get an extra print something, and so I just wanted to show this to you. So Sai, you're gonna get this next time I see you.
Okay.
But it's connected to the theme of the quiz. Because Chris had an extra, he gave it to me at the winter meeting and said, you know, do whatever you want with this. I've got an extra, so I don't need it. And I said, well, we'll use it for a future quiz. And the stars
Sounds
aligned with the catcher theme. So this is a very nice print of Johnny Bench. So this is
great.
4 out of 100. And you know, I would you know, by this particular artist, it's got a certificate, but I thought this was quite nice. So especially appropriate, you know, with the catcher theme. So Sai, next time I see you,
Okay,
I'm happy to give this to you. But congratulations, Sai. That means you're on the clock for the next quiz. So
Okay.
that would be for the March meeting, and if you're able to join us, you know, that would be great. But here's the plan for the March meeting. Let me mention that first of all. We're looking at Sunday, March 16th. This would be a lunch meeting. So typically about 1 o'clock. So this would be 1 o'clock Sunday, March 16th. This is we're due to have one up north, so this will probably be at the Hurricane Grill up in Round Rock. We've been to in the past, but that'll be the plan for the March meeting. I also wanted to mention, I alluded to this earlier, we're hoping to put together an outing to a UT Longhorn baseball game at Disch Falk Field later this month. Dartmouth is in town on the weekend of February 22nd and 23rd. They haven't announced the start times for these games yet. And because weather can be a factor, it could be brutally cold. I'm thinking maybe the Sunday, that's probably going to be an afternoon game. That might be a better option for us. But they haven't announced times yet, so we're going to wait until they announce times. and then we'll handle this as an additional meeting for February. It's like we do when we do the Express or the Missions games, where we'll find a section where there are seats that are still available to purchase. We'll let everybody know what section, what row we're going to be in. And then after we buy a few tickets, we'll put the word out to the membership so that if you want to buy tickets, you can see what section it is. And if you want to join us that day, you're certainly welcome to do so. This will just be an additional meeting that we'll have in February. So we'll do that the weekend of the 22nd, 23rd. Probably it's going to be the Sunday, the 23rd. And then March 16th, a Sunday, is when we'll have the March meeting. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun with the Texas State graduates. I hope you all enjoyed that. I'm real glad that the Texas State students could join us and get some feedback and suggestions to help them as they plot their career. Also loved having Brendan on board to talk about his research. Very, very interesting. There'll be more that I'll share in the February newsletter. And then, of course, the quiz from Tom. Tom, thank you so much for putting together a great quiz with challenging questions, but also questions to make it more accessible for a lot of us. And so I certainly appreciate that. Any questions or comments before we wrap up here? Anybody?
Gilbert, what was the date of that Longhorns game?
We're looking at Sunday, February 23rd.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, more
That was
details to come about that.
that was a really fun meeting.
Did you enjoy it, Linda?
I really did that. I love seeing what the students. I have a former student I know who's just recently started his own newspaper somewhere in New Mexico, and it
Wow.
just makes me proud of the kids, when they do stuff like that.
Absolutely, Linda. And I love the Texas Tech connection. I didn't know your husband was a
Yep.
Texas Tech law grad. So,
Yeah, we spent 3 years in the dread place of Lubbock. I hear that song Lubbock in your rearview mirror. I was screaming it as we left.
that's terrific. Thank you so much for sharing that. Any
Thanks,
other
Gilbert.
comments? You're welcome, Cy. Thank you very
Great
much. And
meeting.
congratulations on winning the
Thanks.
quiz.
Hey Gilbert, are you going to get rid of the King Tut crown now behind you?
I don't know that I'm going to get rid of it because he's part of our legacy. I mean, he did hit 2 home runs in 2021 World Series Game 1.
Yeah.
And I know I know the Astros went on to lose, and Tucker didn't do much after that. I know. But I mean, he's King Tuck. I don't know that I want to get rid of that. But hey Tom, let me ask you.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the Astros are going to sign Bregman, whether it's a 1 year deal or whatever.
That's
It
amazing.
looks like that's
Yeah.
going to happen, right?
I've been hearing chatter about it. It surprises me. I was not expecting that at all, unless it's something where, yeah, like Correa, he's looking to get a 1 year deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, if they can get a one or a short deal on him, they should absolutely jump on it.
Yeah. I mean, it just comes down to, are we better with Bregman or
Yeah.
not? And I think we're better with him, and
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. We'll move people where we need to, but I'd like to see him back, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I really thought what was going to happen was they were not going to sign Bregman.
Right.
And they would not have traded Tucker. It would have been heartbreaking to lose them both, and then that's what ends
Right.
up happening. I told Ryan that was worst case scenario for the Astros if we lost both of them
Oh,
in the
yeah.
offseason. And then they
I was
traded. Yeah.
counting on it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, once they traded Tucker, I was like, okay, we're in the
Yeah.
hole.
We're in new territory. Yeah, very,
Yeah.
very different. But I like who they picked up, Isaac Paredes and Christian Walker. I mean, those are terrific pickups. Our outfield.
I'm a little higher on Paredes than Walker.
Mm,
Mainly, I mean, look at the ages.
yeah,
Paredes is at that age where he, can have a big year. Walker, I don't know if he's going to go full. What's his name?
Abreu. Yeah, don't even
Abreu
say
on
it.
us, but he's
Let's
getting into
hope
those
not.
ages where
Yeah.
you can't really count on anything.
Yeah. But maybe the short porch and all that will help him. So that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. Is he a righty?
He is.
Walker's a righty?
Uh-huh.
I know
Yeah,
Paredes is.
Yeah, we don't have any lefties, so that's the concern. I'm glad we didn't sign Polanco though. But anyways, a lot of Astros talk here. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Any last comments, anybody? I think we can wrap things up. It's a beautiful day out there, at least here in Austin. I hope you all get to enjoy it wherever you are. I think Peter might be joining us. Are you joining us, Peter, from Colorado? Yeah? Okay.
You're muted.
Yeah, Peter's muted. We can't make that out, Peter, but I think you're in Colorado. So yeah, we're trying. If there isn't anything else, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. So nice to see everybody. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.